Hi, my name is Rosie Barron and I am the owner of Gibson Group Management. We are a local property management company here in Fort Lauderdale, and today we're continuing our series of top 10 mistakes that landlords make and that we see very often. And in number 6, we have that they don't have the proper insurance. I've come across landlords that say, I don't need insurance because I don't have a mortgage on my property. Well, that doesn't mean that you don't need to have insurance to protect you against liability. If a tenant slips and falls or something happens in your property, you're still responsible. And guess what? Lawsuits are very, very expensive. So you definitely want to make sure you have the proper insurance. We are fully licensed and insured, so we carry all the insurance required to protect us and our landlords and our clients and our tenants in any event, okay? Number 7 is that the landlord disconnects the utilities or rekeys the property when the tenant is not paying rent. So I've often seen it where the landlords get really upset because the tenant hasn't paid rent in several months, and they say, I'm just gonna disconnect the water, or I'm going to change the locks, and the tenant can have access to the property. That is a lawsuit waiting to happen. You do not wanna do that. The proper way is to evict the tenant through a proper legal eviction proceeding, and then that way you can regain control of your property, but you cannot change the locks or leave the tenant out of the property. You can't do it. You're gonna be sued, pretty much. Number 8 is that they use the security deposit to pay back rent. So the tenant this month can make the rent payment for whatever reason, and the landlord says, oh, no worries, I'll use your security deposit for this month, and then next month you can just pay me rent. So the security deposit never gets replenished, and second, it doesn't get processed properly. So when the tenant moves out, you still have to process the security deposit according to the law, okay? You cannot just not process because you used it for rent. You still have to process, or you're gonna have to give it back to the tenant. More so is when the tenant moves out, you really have no money to do any repairs. So please don't use the security deposit for rent that the tenant owes at the time. Just don't use it, okay? Number 9 is that they improperly mail the security deposit to the tenant, okay? I have another video on this, and it's very specific. Florida statute says that you have to mail certified mail, not regular mail, no FedEx. It has to be certified mail, the security deposit, if you put in a claim on it, okay? And there's specific verbiage that you have to put in the letter. You cannot just write down a letter and then just send a check. It has to be very specific, or you're gonna be obligated by an attorney to give that money back to the tenant. And I've seen it happen, and it's really sad. And the last one is one of my favorites, is when the landlord uses the last month for repairs. So basically, what that means is that the tenant moved in, and the landlord collected first, last, and security. And now the tenant moved out, and for whatever reason, they paid last month still. So now the landlord is holding last month and security deposit, and the tenant left a mess, and the amount of the security deposit doesn't cover all the repairs. So the landlord uses the last month to also help with the repairs. That's not good. You only can use the last month for rent. That's what it's called, last month of rent. It's for rent. It's not for repairs. And it's shocking when you have a landlord that has to give back to the tenant the last month, but then they're left with a mess behind. And then there's no way to get that money back unless you go after the tenant. That's why here we have a policy where we don't charge last month. If a tenant is a little bit in, maybe they have newer credit, or we don't feel 100% that they go through our point system and we feel like we need to ask for additional money up front, we ask for additional security deposit, okay? We ask for double security deposit or just a little bit more security deposit. That way we can use that money when the tenant moves out for repairs, for pass-through rent, for anything. But please don't use the last month to make repairs, because that's not what it is for. If you have any questions about any property management, or if you have properties and you have questions about leasing or your own tenants, please give us a call. We're property management, and we are local to Fort Lauderdale and South Florida area. Thank you.